What is up, Ingrid?
Hi,
Here,
Scott.
here we are, 185 episodes. We've done this. It's
Yeah,
quite an
this is a
accomplishment.
this is a milestone.
Yeah,
And this will be our last episode together as the weekly transit
yes,
duo. Almost 4 years of
yeah, three and a
hanging out
half
every
years.
week.
Oh my God, insane. That's
I was
gonna
just
be
thinking at
weird not seeing
200.
you. Yeah,
I know. I mean, the first things that come to mind are obviously, I'm going to miss seeing so much of you. I'm sure we will still
yes,
see each other, but
for sure.
I don't see anyone in my life this much.
Exactly, right? I know. The only person I see this much aside from you is Gabriella.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, it's gonna
Um,
be a big shift.
and then I mean, I guess I'm gonna miss you, and I'm gonna miss connecting. I connect with a lot of women on Instagram, and
Mm,
that's something that I'll miss. Just getting little life updates from people and encouragement, and I like to hear all
yes.
the gossip.
Mhm.
So if anybody wants to find me, I'm on Instagram at Ingaroo, Ingaroo. I love hearing about, I don't know, your life stories, all of your stuff, your little gossips, your secrets, your
Mhm.
accomplishments. Someone's going to like pole classes and Pilates, and, other people are just like exercising or communicating with their like partners better. And I just like hearing all the juicy stuff. And I don't know, it feels like a really nice place that I never realized would be such a great support system through Instagram.
Mm,
Like I have a lot of internet friends that I've never even met in
yes.
real life that I'm always so excited to hear from. And that's been like one of my favorite parts of the podcast, actually, which is kind of, a little aside. But
Yes.
yeah, it always feels fun to just hear from, I guess strangers, but I feel like very close to some of these people.
Well, hopefully they'll stay in touch with you and you'll stay in touch with them,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, if you plan on doing like your own podcast or
Mhm.
something along those lines, then
I mean, I have some ideas that are
yeah.
circulating. So
Uh-huh.
hopefully, I think I'm probably going to do another podcast, but I will
Okay.
keep you posted. I was going to try to do
Yeah.
something right away, like literally next week, put something all together in a
Right.
rush and a panic, but I was like, that's probably not the best way to start something new. Maybe like give myself a little time, a breather from
A
doing this
break.
for so long.
Totally. Yeah. I know. I kind of feel
And
that way too, but we're going to
it's about
keep
to be like
rolling.
the
Yeah.
holidays, so I'm just like, yeah, I might take a little break. And
Okay.
then, I mean, if anybody wants any photo or video work or graphic design, help with their podcast, I'm meeting with someone after we record
Oh,
to,
cool.
I'm just coaching her on how to edit.
Uh huh.
She already has a pretty successful podcast. It's called The
Yeah.
Divorce Party. The
Okay.
Divorce Party, yeah. Um, but she's been paying someone to edit all her stuff. So she was like, "Can you basically teach me how to do this? Because I can't afford to just pay people all the time to do all this stuff." She's like, "All the money
Yeah.
that I make goes back into the podcast." So that's been just kind of fun, actually. Um, Kind of like recognizing how much I've actually really learned through the process, and now I can teach someone else how to do the same thing. So that's been kind of
Yes.
a cool little project for the last couple weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. All the value, all the knowledge that you've
Mhm.
received through the
Practice,
editing,
practice,
yeah,
practice.
exactly. Doing 185 episodes. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is 100. Yeah, it's basically 185 hours. Oh my gosh. I guess probably like three times that.
Yeah.
So maybe like around 600 hours. I was trying
Yeah.
to see like people say like when they're an expert in something, it's like 10,000 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
probably like, I guess if we say 600 just in editing, like for the podcast, is probably like a thousand hours or more over the course
Yeah.
of
But even
maybe a
then in
little.
the course of like
And I'm like, that's six.
10,000, it's
I'm like a tenth of that. Yeah, I'm like a tenth of whatever. I mean, I don't know if I'm quite the actual expert yet, but I'm like, I probably have 5,000 hours, and if 1,000 of those hours are with you,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we've done a lot.
Yeah, for
So yeah, if
sure.
anybody wants to do any work together or wants me to like, help them nurture their projects, like that's one
Mm-hmm.
of my favorite things to do is, kind of what I've done here with you. Just
Yes.
baby all your stuff and make little graphics and figure out all the tech stuff and the website stuff. I really do enjoy doing that and helping you with all those and helping you be successful has been like very rewarding. So
Hmm.
I hope this next year is very successful. I feel like you have all the tools and it's going to be, yeah, I'm just curious to see what happens next.
Yeah, totally. I know. We step into like the great unknown now.
Hmm.
And yeah. So, and it's, coming at this kind of really interesting time where we're closing out eclipse season this week, because like the highlight of the week is the full moon eclipse in Taurus. So I just think of like all these beginning and endings that happen with the eclipses. So
And so,
yeah,
so eclipses are normally the beginning and endings of things. Is that what they
I think
represent?
so. It's like when you just think of like how it looks from Earth, where the solar eclipse, which was the one that happened on October 14th, that was a solar eclipse is like during a new moon, when the moon crosses between the pathway of the sun and the earth. So we're looking at the sun from earth, and then the moon crosses in between the two and blacks out the sun. So it's like a baptism by fire, so to speak. It's burning up the old emotional
Mm-hmm.
energies and starting something new. Like you burn the crops so that you can plant new crops. The lunar eclipse is where it's the full moon. So the sun is reflecting its light off of the moon, but then the earth gets in the pathway of the
Okay.
moon, between the moon and the sun. The
Mm-hmm.
earth gets between the pathway between the moon and the sun, and it blacks out the moon. That's the lunar eclipse. So that is like the earth being bathed in the fire of the sun in relation to the moon in the past, and like clearing up, breaking up those past ties and energies and any stagnation so that you can fly moving forward.
You know, we are, I mean, we still are coming up to the end of the year. It's like there's the end of the year, which is not really the astrological new year, but then in astrology, there's so many like rebirths throughout the year. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the new moon and full moon are for intention
Mm-hmm.
setting. Those are kind of
Mm-hmm.
little mini rebirths. And then
Mm-hmm.
every time we go into a new season in the calendar, I mean, I guess spring, summer, or whatever as well. But I was thinking, you know, each of the signs. And then we have eclipses. I feel like, you know, in our day to day, there's not a lot of reminders that we can start new. And like there is this refresh of energy that we can tap into at any
Mm-hmm.
time. There's something happening astrologically that can guide us if we're looking at the planets and stars, guide
Totally.
us on our next thing. We don't have to wait till the new year. Everyone's like, oh, the new year, everything's going to be amazing. It's like, okay, we have a million. We have
Yeah.
so many opportunities for this rebirth. So even though it's not quite the new year, it's like we're preparing for it in all kinds of little ways if we want to.
Yes. That's it. And even when you think about the end of the year, it's not the end of the astrological year, but it's that point where the sun is in Capricorn, and it's kind of that way that you feel at the end of the year. What have I accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I want to continue to accomplish moving into the next year? That's that Capricorn energy. And thinking about like the different cycles, like I think of the lunar cycle, and where were you 19 years ago? What was going on in your life 19 years ago? And like for me, 19 years ago, I was making some big changes in my life, because 19 years ago was the last time the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse was happening at the same degrees that it's happening this year. Like the last time 19 years ago, in the April solar eclipse, is when I quit my job.
Really?
I quit my job working in publicity, and it was crazy because people are like, why are you doing this? Like, this is such a good opportunity, all this stuff. And I just didn't feel right to me anymore. And so I
Yeah.
just kind of abruptly left. And
Wow.
people, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then in October, which is where we are now, I found my next job. So, but that didn't start until it actually ended up didn't start for like another 7-8 months. It wasn't supposed to take that long, but it ended up taking that long, and it was super intense. So yeah, I was
What was your
doing
next job?
working in a restaurant.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it was like really hard for me to find the job because I hadn't worked in a restaurant in like 3 years, and people were like, oh, it's
It's
just,
so it's
yeah,
such a you have to have a job to get another job because they're like, oh,
exactly.
well, did you forget everything you've known?
Exactly.
It's just a whole
Exactly.
thing.
So it was total upheaval 19 years ago for me, and it kind of feels that way again in
Yeah, I feel
terms
like
of
this
like,
was a
yeah,
kind of like a maybe it was a long time coming, but also it was like kind of an abrupt change for
yeah,
you to get this like hit of like I need to do something different.
yeah,
Which was to me was very shocking because you're very like you're just so consistent all the time. So it felt really crazy. And you were like, I didn't even
totally.
know. I don't even know where
Exactly.
it came from. It just came like it just happened, you
Yeah.
know? So
It
it's just
feels
yeah,
crazy
that
to me too.
I feel like
Totally.
that's how a lot of really big changes in my life have happened too. Like I've been like, I know I want to make a change. I know I want to make a change, but I don't know what it is. And then all of
Hmm.
a sudden it's almost like overnight it comes to you and you're like, oh, this is the change I need to make. And now I have to do it. Like I feel
Yes.
compelled to make this shift in my life. And we don't know, we can't plan for when that's going to happen.
Right. No, you can't. It just
Like every move
comes to
that I've
you.
made or
Yeah.
job transition has been like, yeah, feeling like something needs to shift, but it's like we don't
Hmm.
always we can't always see what it is.
Yes. Yes. So things are intense right now out there in the world, and in my life, and I think everyone's life that I'm talking to. And
Dude,
it's not necessarily bad, but it's intense.
it's intense. It's intense right now for many of my close friends as well. It
Hmm.
seems like every conversation is just like I've been so tired even since the last time we talked. This whole last month and a half, I think, it's just been like so much heavy stuff going on around me that even that affects me. Just hearing about all my friends going through their stuff
Yes.
too is like, oh my gosh, my own transitions plus everybody else's that you like care about and are connected to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do we get through it?
I don't
That's
know,
that's
Scott,
the
tell
challenge.
us. What do I do? What's
I wish I had the answers too. I think the answer is, just getting up every day and
Mhm.
breathing from one breath to the next, and just
Being
keep trugging
gentle.
along, keep trugging
Yeah.
along. That's it. Like, it's so helpful for me to see the planets and to know what is happening. Like, I was just last night, I was like, so why is this happening? Why am I going through this again, or going through this right now? And I look back and I was like, wow, 19 years ago I was going through some big changes too. And then I started thinking about Saturn, and I was like, I became really obsessed with astrology 7 years ago. That's when I began my journey to become a professional astrologer. And that's the Saturn squaring Saturn. So, just looking at these different patterns help me navigate through these sort of uncertain moments where you're like, I'm making a big change.
Mhm.
I feel like I need to make a change. I'm not 100% certain about what's going to come about from the change, but that's what has to happen. And so being
Mhm.
able to see the different patterns is like, okay, well, I'm just following this cycle.
Mhm.
And as long as I'm staying true to what my energy is feeling, then knowing that I'm just going through this cycle and following this cycle, and it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You know, it's all going to be okay. That's what I just keep telling myself.
I mean,
No matter what happens.
I think being just like extra patient and compassionate through like transitions. I was like really sick this week, which kind
Mhm.
of caught me off guard, and I really like to be productive,
Mhm.
and then my house gets messy, and then I have Chris is moving, so then some more stuff came over here, so I had to rearrange my house, and it was just like everything. Instead of having a panic, I'm just like, okay, my house is messy because I don't feel good. When I have a little bit, like I just did my dishes and I was like, okay, I have a little extra energy right now, and not getting mad at myself for having too much on my plate to do all of the things. It's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
we can just be grateful that we have all the things on our plate. And that means sometimes you can't do all the things you want to do. Maybe you can't hang out with your friend, or, you can't go on a vacation, or you can't clean your house. And that's just what happens when you're going through
Yeah,
transition. It's life is
totally.
messy.
Exactly. Yes, it
I'm like,
is.
even I was like, oh, should I mean, my living room looks like the best of all my house, but I'm like, oh, there's like pants over here, and there's like camera gear over here, and like I was like, oh, should I clean up? It's just like nobody cares. Nobody care. I care.
I didn't
Like
even
I care
notice
what.
until you pointed it out. I'm like, oh yeah, there are some pants back
There
there.
was like some other stuff over here that I like moved, and then I was just like, nobody. I'm the person that cares the most, and it's really like for
Yes.
my mental health. So it's like, okay, if you have enough energy, then do it for yourself. But like to do it for someone else, like it's just too much.
Mm, exactly.
Just trying
This
to be
is a
nice to
transform.
myself.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's get into the week
Yeah,
because
let's
like
do it.
this is it's the week of October 23rd to the 29th. And so you see right here on the first day, Monday, October 23rd, it's the sun in Scorpio. And this is all about transformation. And transformation is not easy. It's like, whew, you talk about me, how I like things stable and so on and so forth. But then all of a sudden, boom, I'm making this change. That's the energy of Scorpio. And that's what I am, a Scorpio. This is the sun, the bringer of light, life, and vitality, bringing its light, life, and vitality to the fixed water sign symbolized by the scorpion. The scorpion is a very sudden creature. It stings you before you even know it's stung you. It moves that quickly. But when you think of that energy of Scorpio, transformation, it's like the chrysalis doesn't move, but the caterpillar is dying inside of the chrysalis and transforming into the butterfly. It's like it how does it even know to do that? That's why I don't even know how I know to make the decisions that I'm
Yeah.
making in my life, but I just know that like it gets to a point where it's like I have to make this decision now. I can't continue in the way that it's going because I feel like I am dying. Like
Yeah.
when you get that feeling that you feel like you are dying, that is the feeling that says it's time for a change. Because staying the way things are is killing you.
Hmm.
And when you change, it's going to be difficult, just like a rebirth. Like how many women do you know have like given birth and were like, oh my God, that was so easy. Like I
I
just
mean,
went it, literally just the baby came. It was like 5 minutes. I didn't even feel it. It was so easy.
I mean,
No,
it
it's
takes it
painful.
literally takes a year. It like the moment of it happening is intense, but like
The whole
the
pregnancy and all of that.
whole pregnancy, and then it's like the before, it's like 9 months before, or however many months or weeks, and then I mean years after, you never recover. You're different forever. That transformation
Exactly.
is, my friend's kid just turned 2, and she's like, oh my God, like it's still so intense.
Totally.
Like it's just a lot.
Because you can never stop thinking about this other person that was
Hmm.
living inside of you. Like they are here on earth. Like it's like you just cloned yourself, it's
But
just
nobody prepares you for these changes, really.
exactly. Exactly. But, at least most parents I know, they're like, it's the greatest thing. I'm so grateful that I have my children. So it's a hard experience to go through, the birthing process and the pregnancy and everything leading up to it, but they're grateful for those transformations. And so, like, I think back to like my quitting my publicity job, and I never looked back and said, wow, I sure wish I didn't do that. I'm glad that I did. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
hard and it was more difficult than I could have imagined. And maybe there's some things about it that I would have changed in the process of doing it, but I've never looked back and said, oh, I wish I had my old job back.
Yeah.
So the whole world is going through this very difficult transformative period with Mars already transiting through Scorpio, leading the charge, paving the way. Mars, the planetary ruler of Scorpio, and now Mercury last week, and then the Sun this week. So now three planets transiting through Scorpio: the Sun, Mercury, the mind, Mars, action, the planetary ruler of Scorpio, all transiting through Scorpio. It's time for change. It's time to release whatever you've been clinging on to from the past or your habits that are no longer serving you to move forward. So we look at Tuesday, October 24th. And I should say that, those who were born with key astrological points or planets in Leo or Aquarius, this could be a challenging period for you from October 23rd to November 22nd, when the sun is transiting through Scorpio. The sun is transiting through Scorpio every year from around October 22nd, 23rd to November 21st, 22nd, depending on what time and where you are on planet Earth. But Scorpio is fixed water, Leo fixed fire, Aquarius fixed air. So they make hard aspects to these planets transiting through Scorpio. So those that have key astrological points or planets in Leo or Aquarius, just hold on to your hats, keep grinding through. This may be the most difficult part of the transformation for you. As you see here on Tuesday, October 24th, the sun in Scorpio forms a supportive trine with Saturn in Pisces. So this is helping you take responsibility for your karmic bonds, your intimate relationships, and showing yourself compassion and empathy to those others who are involved in your intimate relationships. There's a restructuring that's happening here.
I'm also wondering if it's like taking responsibility for what is living in your subconscious in that Pisces world. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's our responsibility to clear out those dark corners. So maybe those transformations to the relationships don't have to be so ugly or icky, like
Yes,
kind of cleaning our side of the street so it goes more smoothly.
exactly. That's the holding yourself accountable for your psychological baggage and to be compassionate for yourself and all the guilt, shame, regret, or blame that you're feeling deep within yourself. It's sort of that dark night of the soul experience that we may be having right now, where there's a lot of anger coming up in people, maybe anger that's being expressed through these intimate bonds. And where does that anger stem from within yourself? And how can you be more empathetic to the others that you're intimately involved with through being compassionate to yourself?
So I was thinking, like, if we're taking responsibility and being compassionate to ourselves, like when you say the dark night of the soul, sometimes that feels really good, where it's like we get this clarity where
Mm-hmm,
we're like, oh, we
mm-hmm,
can see all of this shit, but we can see why it all happened. And
mm-hmm.
where we're at now is almost like a gift instead of being like,
Yes.
oh, I'm so stupid. It's like, oh, that's just what had to happen. I didn't know. And And then also when we're having that compassion for ourselves, it makes it much easier to have compassion for others. We're like, oh, everybody has shit in their closet. They don't even know how it got there. It got there from their childhood, their past relationships, wherever it came from. And it's not our fault. Like
Mhm.
we don't know until we know. But once we know, we have to take responsibility for seeing it now and collecting it and clearing it out.
Yes, that's it. So good. Such a great perspective. Hopefully this transit gives everyone clarity on who they are, why they're in this moment right now, and what they can do to move through it in a positive, responsible way. So, looking to Wednesday, October 25th, the moon, the planet of emotions, forms a conjunction with Neptune, the planet of compassion, illusion, deception, fantasy, in the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish and ruled by Neptune, Pisces. This is that compassion that we're talking about here. We looked at it yesterday with Saturn in Pisces, but now the moon and Neptune aligning here also in Pisces to really help facilitate that frequency of taking it easy on yourself and on others, and just trying not to be overwhelmed with what you're experiencing through other people's experiences, because there's a lot of empathy with these planets forming a conjunction here, a lot of emotional empathy where maybe somebody's going through a really hard time and you may have trouble separating yourself from their pain and suffering, which could cause an emotional reaction where it's like, why don't you just figure it out, or something like that, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
Like
well,
you're affecting me, and it's like, well,
mhm,
no one's doing it on purpose. They're feeling it the worst, and
right.
by association, you're also affected. But it's like you gotta maybe be a little more guarded with your energy. Like having
Yes.
compassion is great, and having empathy is great, but then at a certain point, protecting yourself, because we all have to go through our shit. And essentially, I mean, even if we have support, we're really going through it alone. So when we're
Yes.
feeling bad and shit is not going right for us and it affects other people, it's just like no one wants that to happen. Nobody wants to have shit fall on other people. It's just like it's hard enough.
It's like, are you
Just
drowning in other people's emotions, or are
mm,
you drowning other people in your emotions?
okay,
It
I
could
like
be
that.
a,
It's a good check-in
yeah, that could be
because it is
something
nice
that's
to
going
know
on.
when you're once it starts to spill onto other people unnecessarily. It's like one thing to just be there for somebody and like be empathetic, but once their stuff starts to spill onto you, like, yeah, are you that person?
Mm,
Or like either how can you protect yourself or how can you like collect your energy better? Like if you're gonna have support, make sure you're not like draining the people around
exactly.
you.
Exactly. Both of those. Protect yourself and collect yourself with your
Yeah, I like that.
energy. Yes. Yes. Then Thursday, October 26th, the sun moves to 2 degrees in Scorpio and forms this in conjunction with the moon in the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram and ruled by Mars, just like Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Both these signs are ruled by Mars. The moon in Aries, the sun in
I
Scorpio. So, like, the sun is bringing that vitality and light to what's hidden, to the secrets, and the moon is churning up that emotional authenticity. So, there could be some sparks on Thursday, October 26th, where things that you've been hiding from emotionally are now coming to the surface, or maybe somebody that you're bonded to, somebody that you're intimate with, is exploding in a way that seems unexpected or abrasive. It's all about clearing it
well,
out. This is leading up to the lunar eclipse. This is helping clear the energy. Like, what do I need to release? Well, you should be figuring it out by Thursday, Friday, leading
mhm.
up to the lunar eclipse with the moon transiting through Aries, because that brings emotional authenticity.
I mean, Aries is always a little bit intense, where it's just like
Yeah.
something's going to move, something's going to shift, and it might not always be like in the prettiest way, but
Hmm.
it seems like today could be like an opportunity
Maybe.
because it looks like it's not like such a hard transition. It's like, oh, you're going to feel the need to clear some shit out, but maybe you can, yeah, not be too aggressive with it.
Yes.
It's like
Well,
just
that.
getting that push, that initial push to like make some shifts
Mm, yes.
with your,
That.
I mean, with your emotions. So it's like, I don't know if that's immediately affecting, like if it's Scorpio, that's like your karmic bond. So
Hmm.
whatever is getting stirred up in your emotions, the people closest to you are gonna notice. Or maybe that also means being aware of other people's having some shifts, like just being aware of some shit is getting stirred up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The in conjunction is uncomfy, as you would say, and you would think that you know what is stirring up the people that you're closest to, but maybe something comes up that's kind of out of left field. You feel like
Yeah.
you got smacked across the face, or maybe it's some random person that's dealing with something in one of their karmic
Yeah. A
bonds, and
little
all of
bit
a
of
sudden,
a
yeah,
little surprise.
exactly, exactly.
We sometimes we think, even we think we know what's bothering us, and then it's something else, or the person you're close to, you're like, oh, we think, oh, I know what's bothering him because I know that person. It's like, oh, actually it was something deep underneath that's been hiding there,
Hmm.
like the reason underneath the reason. Even just like in
Exactly.
most things, it's not even like that moment of like discomfort where you're having like an impatient, irritated moment. It's like, oh, well, you didn't get enough sleep and this happened, it reminded me of your childhood, and that reminded you of this other thing, and it's like the compiling of all of the agitations related to this type of incident.
Yes. Yes. Like when you think of it, it's like we're no different than children or a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a baby is hungry, tired, or has to poop, like they're gonna be cranky and
Mm-hmm.
crying or whatever. And it's the same for adults,
It is.
if
Tired. If
or
I'm hungry
hungry,
and tired, I don't
hangry.
know about, maybe if I have to poop, I don't know. I've never really thought that much about that one, but for sure the first two, I am
Yeah.
like, no, like either I'm crying or I'm pissed off, one of the two. And it's like, oh,
Yes.
why are you so sensitive? Okay, well, you're fucking starving. You haven't slept. So there you go. Now you're
Yes.
a hot mess. You got to take care of yourself or you're not going to feel good.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. And so something's getting stirred up, and then it all hits the
Mm.
fan
Ooh.
on Friday,
Ah.
October 27th, when the moon continues on through Aries and forms a conjunction with Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound in Aries. So this is where the wound to your insecurities, your your fears. It's
Yeah.
like you're being forced to face your emotional fears. Where am I most insecure? You have to face that. What are Where do you find yourself being fake or inauthentic or arrogant or cocky? That is wherever that is, that's the fruit of fear. Arrogance, cockiness, inauthenticity. It's rooted in fear. And so that is coming up today. It's time to face those fears and insecurities and love yourself in spite of them.
I mean, also, even once you like notice what your insecurity is, we all have insecurities. It's not the end of the world. Maybe we can just work on them. So if you're insecure about something specific, you can actually work on that area of your life so you can actually be better at it. So you don't have to feel insecure. And so you don't have to be arrogant or cocky about it. You're just like, oh, I was overcompensating because I didn't feel comfortable and confident in my skills. Maybe I actually just need to work on that skill so I don't feel like this agitation and fear surrounding it. I can, yeah, the more we're confident in our skills, it's just like, even at dancing, like
Mhm.
someone can be like so like just the interactions can be so weird, and they're always like challenging you. And it's like, I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. I know that I'm the best. So when I'm going to fight with you, go dance with somebody else then. Don't bother
Mm,
me.
mm,
You know, you can get all worked up about it and like cause a scene, or it's just like, okay, I'm not going to waste my energy. I don't need to prove anything to you because
mhm.
you don't get it. That's fine.
Yes.
Like if you don't know what I have to offer, I don't know what to tell you. That means that you cannot see or you cannot feel what I am giving out. And like, okay, fine. That's not like the when people get all worked up and take everything so personal
Mm,
is like, okay, well maybe you don't feel comfortable and confident. Why did that poke at you so much?
yes. That's a good
Like it's just
question.
like art, like everybody likes a different kind of art.
It's
I can think something's
subjective.
great, but I'm like, I kind of hate it. Like it's obviously talented, but I don't like it. That's not my style.
Hmm.
What is someone next to you is gonna be like, oh my God, you're so stupid. Like you have to like it. It's just like not everyone likes the same thing. Not everybody gets everybody. And I don't even know if that ended up relating to what the hell we were talking about because now
Well, I
I'm
think
on a
it's
tangent.
about self-confidence and
Oh yes,
and
yes.
being if you like one piece of art versus some other piece of art, like you don't need to apologize for not liking this song or that piece of art or that film or that show. It's you like what you like. And it's about appreciating yourself. How can you appreciate yourself more?
Mm-hmm.
And be the more you can be loving to yourself, then the more loving you can be to other people. It's when people are insecure that they start criticizing you or biting at you or
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
mean to you in some way. It has to do probably more with them than you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And that might be coming up today. And so when we move on to October October 28th, this is the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus at 1:24 p.m. Pacific time. So obviously we won't be able to see the lunar eclipse because it will be daytime in California. But the sun in Scorpio opposite the moon in the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull Taurus. When you think of Taurus and Scorpio, these are the two signs that represent money. Taurus is my money. Scorpio is the money and the energy that I share with other people. And so it's clearing this channel between your self worth, what you value, and the people that you integrate yourself with, the people that you merge power with, the people that you bond with. So this is about clearing relationships or clearing frequencies within relationships that are no longer serving you, that are no longer in accordance with your values and self-worth, so that you can create space for new people to come into the fold who are more aligned with your values and self-worth. Doesn't even have to be like a negative thing with whoever it is you're transforming the relationship. Like with you and I, we're transforming our
Mm-hmm.
relationship, but I'm hoping that it creates positive space for you and for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that it leads us to that next trajectory of where each of us need to be individually.
And a lot of times like the transformation to a relationship doesn't have to be a complete death of the relationship. It can
Yeah,
just be a
exactly.
reorganizing of just because all your values don't align doesn't mean some of them don't align, and you can still appreciate that person for what you do have in common, and it doesn't you don't need to throw the whole thing in the trash just because
Right.
things are not working in one area or another.
Yes, exactly.
And I think if we get all of this shit out of our like, if we do the work this week that we had already talked about, maybe when it comes to this day, it's like, okay, we can recognize those things and move through it more gracefully where we're not setting everything on fire,
Yes,
which is
exactly.
hard to do. But, I feel like, it took like many conversations for us to get each other's perspective. and
Totally.
be more compassionate. And then once I hear the root of like all the layers behind the thing, I'm like, oh, well, now I'm more compassionate for Scott because I
Mm,
understand why he did it. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was, all
mhm.
these other things, and being compassionate for our own experiences, even if I'm involved in that in some way, it's just, yeah, being compassionate for everyone and what they need out of this world. And that doesn't always need to be taken personally.
Yes,
We can
exactly.
still appreciate the other person and care for them and love them through the
Exactly.
transition, even if that means a transition for us as well.
Exactly. Like we're not incinerating our relationship where I'm
Mm.
like, fuck Ingrid, I'm never going to talk to her again. It's like,
Yeah.
I love you and I want us to continue to stay in contact. And this is just something
I
that
want to
had to
be a good
change. Yeah.
cheerleader and like
Yes.
be excited. I want to
Exactly.
be excited for whatever comes next for you and for Gabriella. I think that
Exactly.
that's the best way to have a transition is to at least be
Absolutely.
excited for
Yes.
whatever is next for them. It doesn't have to, yeah, be
Exactly.
incinerated. That's no
Totally.
fun. That's
No.
not fun.
No, I feel the same way for you. I want to be excited for whatever you're working on next and supportive of you and seeing you succeed and achieve. And like I said, a couple episodes ago, like I can't write the story of my life without you,
Hmm.
Ingrid.
I know, same.
That's,
We've spent
yeah,
so much time
exactly.
together and
Exactly.
a lot of transitions and
Yes.
communication, personal growth, like life
Yes.
changes, a lot.
Yes. Totally. So let's look one more day, Ingrid, Sunday, October 29th. And man, it's intense.
Ah, I don't know if I've ever seen that. Wow.
So, you've got 4 planets at 11 degrees. So, like, if you were born with any key points or planets at or around 11 degrees, especially in Leo or Aquarius, oof, gonna be intense, but also any water or earth sign, very intense. And so we've got the moon in Taurus conjunct Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, conjunct the moon in Taurus. Both of these are opposite Mars, the god of war, the planet of aggression, conflict, energy, courage, confidence. In Scorpio, the sign that it rules, conjunct with Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination. So, action, the mind, expansion, emotions, all either conjunct or opposing each other. I mean, it looks like a mind splitting aspect, alignment between 4 planets. It's like the emotions, the mind, the doing, the expanding, the relationship, the the reality. There's some major shifting happening here. So whatever you weren't able to release on Saturday, you're
It's gonna
gonna be
explode out of
you're
your
gonna,
brain.
you're gonna continue to be able to release it on Sunday. So just go with the flow, embrace the transformation, really try to hold everyone that you are transforming with in gratitude. Like I am with Ingrid and Ingrid is with me, and just really appreciating the journey that we've been on
Mm-hmm.
these last 3.5 years, these 185 episodes, the experiences that we've had, everything that I've learned from Ingrid, everything that I've taught Ingrid, everything that she's taught me, that she's learned from me, just being able to look and say, wow, what a journey, what an experience. And I know we've probably had past lives together and we met up again in this life, and whatever our journey is, together or separately, moving forward, nothing but the best and much appreciation and embracing the transformation that's here upon us.
I mean, this has been, yeah, the transformation, the knowledge, the just just by itself, the astrology that you've taught me is amazing. Just being able to sit here and look at all these images. I mean, we made a book together. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can read all the signs and symbols, something that I never even dreamed of being able to do. It was just like I'm like, it's too much for me. Count me out. and you insisted that that was the way, that's the way to learn, that's the way to learn. And then once I help you write this book, which is just crazy. So now we both have a book under our belt.
Mm.
Like learning to put all that together and work as a team through that, which like that was so difficult. I mean, at least for me, it felt like I think for both of us
that was like a death and a rebirth.
Yeah,
it
was very intense. I feel like we've worked through so many things. I've been through a breakup with you. I've been through, I mean, kind of 2 breakups with you, like family stuff, just relationship stuff, just the continued, I guess, conversation about being vulnerable and open to not knowing everything and still always having to it being a practice. It's not ever like, well, now I'm successful at relationships. Well, now I'm successful at my career or communication. It's like, no, bitch. It's like every week we get together and there's always something still to work on. And there's always something that we have forgotten about that we need to brush up on. There's only so much focus our mind and our life can have. So it's like, while you're working on something over here, something over here gets messy and dirty. And they're like, oh shit, I have to clean that. And you're like, oh, well, I'm cleaning this over here. Now this over here got messy and dirty. And learning to have compassion throughout that and recognizing that the cycle is going to continue. There's no goal. It's not like
there's no end.
We figured it all out. We have all the answers all of a sudden now that we've done this so many times. It's like, the astrology is there and you, Scott, are there to guide me and everyone else along this path of astrology. Like, how do we look at it? How do we get something out of it? How do we learn and grow and become more compassionate for just getting through life without, I mean, we're going to stumble and fall a million times, but it's about getting back up and just learning the lessons. And I think that that's what you have helped me do here on the podcast. I mean, in my life, but a lot of it has happened right here.
Totally. And I don't have the answers either. It's like, I'm not sitting here. It's like, well, I know how to do relationships or anything. I know how to read an astrology chart and reflect that back to you and help give you clarity to your life in the best way possible that I can. But I'm a human being. And I'm learning and growing and falling on my face and tripping up here and there and getting back up and dusting myself off and then moving forward again. And that's the journey of life. And it's been great being on that journey with you, Ingrid, these last 3.5 years. And I mean, I just can't thank you enough for being with me and on this experiment that we did. It's like,
thank you, Scott. Thank you for inviting me along with you to try to figure something out.
Yes, exactly. So I guess that's it then.
I know. Well, it's like, I feel like I'm saying goodbye, but I'm like, I'm sure I'm gonna see you or talk to you like very soon. But
I'm here. I'm available to you. Yes.
I mean, I guess for our listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us along this ride. And I'd love to keep hearing from you. And hopefully I'll be back to check in and see Scott's beautiful face and check in with listeners and all of that. So I'm just very grateful to have had this platform to be vulnerable on and share and grow and feel like witnessed in front of everybody. I think that has been so healing. Most of the episodes that I was like most fearful about putting out because I felt like I shared too much have been some of the ones that I got like the most amount of support and messages and felt much less alone. So I think that the beginning of this podcast, I was so scared to be able to share because I felt embarrassed. And now in the end, I feel like the more that I share, the more connected to the community I am. And I think that is like one of the biggest gifts for having a podcast. Like, it's just me and you, but in the end, we get a lot of, people that listen and support and like write in, and those type of things make you feel like part of the community, which in the beginning you gave me this reading and you're like, oh, you need to be part of the community. And I didn't even know what that meant. And now I feel like I know what that feels like. And that feeling is beautiful, to be part of the community and not feel so alone and stupid about life when you're going through the shit. And everyone's like, oh my God, me too. And you're like, it's so much easier for me to have compassion when I hear someone else going through it. I'm like, oh, well, I feel You know, I want to hold space for them. It's okay. Like we all do these things. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me too. Me
Yes.
too, you know?
Yes. Well, you've been so brave in your vulnerability and all the emotions you've shared here over the last 3.5 years, and you've touched a lot of people. I mean, how many people can say that they're contacted by basically complete strangers once a week, every other day, once a few times a month? Like we're constantly being contacted by people that we've touched on the podcast that we don't know personally, that are thanking us
Mm.
for what we share here. So I encourage everyone that's listening to stay in touch with Ingrid, to follow her on Instagram at Ingaru, and yeah, contact her. Tell her you love her and you appreciate her.
Aw.
And yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that, those of you that are listening stick around and see what I have to offer with Gabriella and what's next there. And I can't even begin
Yeah.
to
I
tell
don't
you what
even
it's
know
about,
what's
because
next.
I don't even know. Right.
I
Like I was
mean,
telling Ingrid before, we're gonna turn on the camera and and the microphones, and we're just going to start recording and see what happens. And maybe like the camera part won't even be a part of it for Gabriella, because she's not necessarily comfortable being in front of the camera right away. Just like
mhm.
Ingrid, it was an adjustment to be on the microphone and be on camera. It was not easy, so it takes a lot of getting used to. It wasn't easy for me as well. And so I may just be doing videos myself on YouTube, and then maybe, the audio with Gabriella and me. I don't know. Like we're just going to fill it out, and I just got to be patient and with her and her comfortability.
And then for all of you who don't know who Gabriella is Scott's partner, and she is a lovely, beautiful soul. She's
Hmm.
very wise, she's very comforting. She is just really great at holding space, and I don't know, she's just one of the most interesting and special people. So whatever you guys do together, I'm sure will be amazing just to listen to you guys talk. I was just at your house a few weeks ago. We had an amazing meal and we just talked for hours and hours and hours. I was there for like
6 hours or so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
great night. So, yeah, I just love hearing her perspective.
Mhm.
So, I think that you guys will do great things together, and I'm very
Yes.
excited to see what's next. So,
Mm.
everybody stick around and see what else is going to be happening here in Scott's world.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ingrid.
I thank you, Scott. I
And
love you,
thank
and I
you
will
to our
see
listeners.
you
Yes. Love you
real soon.
too. Love you too, Ingrid. I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon.